So I want to share with you this wonderful Mike Jones, who had trials with Norwich and played 3 games for Norwich City Football Club. His son is Sebastian Vettel's right-hand engineer, who tweaks those cars that wins the Formula 1 races. But he's passionate about nothing more than broadband, and he hails from BT Business. He's going to share with us today that no matter what size your business, you can converge your on-site and off-site technology and get a real competitive advantage. So even though we're a small crowd, would you still please give a very big Love Businesses Meets Midlands welcome to Mr. Mike Jones. Come on.
So, I'm going to talk about broadband, but not too techie. I'm going to tell you what broadband gives you access to, which is probably the most important. And I will add a little piece on the end about mobile broadband and how that is going to make you think even further. So, I don't work for BT, as I said. I have 2 or 3 companies of my own, and I share these frustrations with some people that were surveyed in BT Business. We don't have enough time in the day. Who doesn't have enough time in the day? We don't like waste. We don't like wasted money. We don't like frustration of not being able to get hold of people. Is that you? And we'd love to get more out of the people that work for us, because in the current environment we're just a little bit nervous about recruiting more people when we've got a problem to solve. So is that fair enough? We want more productivity from people? They're the 3 things that I want in my business. About 500 chamber members have the same view. So, first thing, there are lots of start-up and small businesses that use their consumer broadband for their business. It might save them £3 a month. For me, I think that's just such a massive mistake. When I used to work for BT, the phone calls I used to get with my broadband slows down in the afternoon. I have real problems with connectivity. When I gave them the answer was that the kids were coming home at 3:30 in the afternoon to do their copy and paste, their homework. That's the reason their broadband slows down. It's like everything else in this world, you get what you pay for. I have no axe to grind for BT, but the premium services they provide give you a guaranteed bandwidth where you can get it. You get some wraparounds, technical support people. I'm not a technician. I love being able to ring someone up when I've got a problem and I need to try and understand how to resolve it without getting my IT man in because he costs me cash. These guys don't. I get 99% availability, which is kind of just about as good as you're going to get. They're the type of considerations you need in your business broadband. There's one other thing not on that slide that I get. I get inclusive broadband minutes. So when I go on my journey and I stay in my hotel, I was in a hotel down the road last night, they wanted 12 quid for broadband access. I'm kind of not keen on that. But with the right broadband, I take my minutes with me. So I can sit in the bar, log on and use my own broadband in their reception. And I can spend 12 quid on a reasonable bottle of wine, or actually in a hotel a pretty poor bottle of wine, but it's a lot better than spending it on Wi-Fi. This is your geography. Lots of people will come to these presentations and go, I can't get super fast broadband. I just wanted to make you aware that where there is a green dot, you can get super fast broadband. That's really quick. Now, just where we are at the moment, that's a little bit difficult. There's lots of reasons for that. We can cover those off later on. We can even cover them off one-to-one with you. You may not have seen the BT guys there down the network room at the very end next to the VIP lounge. They've got some clever web access products there, can talk to you about your broadband, put your postcode in, tell you what you can and cannot do and when you will and will not be able to do some of these things. So Scott's the MD of that local office that you've got, and he will be very happy to talk to you about the options that we go through. So, business broadband, not consumer broadband, you must at least go for. Infinity, where the green dots are, I would suggest you look hard at when your broadband contract is up for renewal. And BTnet is for those people who can't get broadband in its, what you know as its traditional form in that geography, but have a reasonable need for high-speed access up and down. And again, the guys can talk to you about that one-to-one. So Infinity, what does it mean? 76 meg. Bigger upload speeds, so if you're trying to interact on broadband and you're pushing material back up to the web, you get much higher upload speeds. Free unlimited Wi-Fi, 4.5 million sites, Costa Coffee, McDonald's, hotels. It would all be included, that access within your broadband capability. Personally, I like things in English. So that high-speed broadband, what does that mean? What does that 70-odd meg mean to me? 100 high-resolution photos uploaded in 30 seconds. 2 gig movie in less than 3 seconds. I read on Monday that YouTube is nearly as popular as Google now as a search engine because we like pictures. I'll give you a quick example of how that thirst for data is changing. 2 years ago, I had a Sky. Who's got Sky at home? 2 years ago, I had an 80 gig Sky box. It was perfect for my recording when I'm away, catch up on all the programs that I want. Then someone introduced high definition. Now I have a 250 gig Sky box, and I find myself deleting the wife's programs so I can record the Grand Prix, because it's just not big enough for me. That's 3 times the capacity in 2 years, no longer good enough. 12 meg email files. If you have big files to ship, maybe you're a consultant, graphic package, graphic designer, you want to ship them, they really chock up your email and the person who you're sending them to. 12 meg, no problem at all. And of course the support wrap that goes around it. But most of all, it gives you access to any number of applications. These are 4 things that I think you really have to consider in your business, and that Infinity and a couple of clever boxes will give you access to. File sharing, conferencing, cloud computing and remote working. Why? File sharing, as I said, I spoke to a guy that came and talked to us earlier on this morning, town planner. Massive files, trying to ship them between locations and offices. Traditional broadband, no good for him. Infinity, perfect for him. It means he can get decisions much, much quicker. Do you know, on average, we lose 5 hours a week waiting for people to give us an answer to make a decision. So maybe it's a colleague that you're trying to get hold of electronically or on the phone. He's not available. You thought he was in the office and now he's out. You need the answer from him before you can progress your journey and make your decision. 5 hours a week that costs us. By the end of this, you will know how to get him wherever he is, really simply. Conferencing. I think you had a bit of snow earlier on in the week. Where in Norfolk, we had quite a lot of snow 3 or 4 weeks ago. For me, I don't understand why everybody doesn't use conferencing. You can have a conferencing account for nothing. For nothing. You, as the owner of the conference, you have a dial-in number and a PIN code. You can email your colleagues and say, dial in at 9 o'clock to this number. When they're all together, you key in your PIN, everybody talks to each other. Yes, you pay for the call to come into the conference, but can you imagine when the snow was around in Norfolk, conferencing in BT goes through the roof. Everybody uses conferencing. When the snow goes away, we choose not to do it. We choose to get in our car, drive 200 miles, get stuck in the traffic, eat a motorway sandwich, speak to somebody, and do the return journey. It takes us 8 hours. With a conference call, we probably could have done it in 15 minutes. I have no idea why it's not an everyday product. I have no idea why we don't use it as a culture in our business. Saves time, saves fuel, gets decision-making quicker. It's a competitive world. If you're not using it and making those decisions in 15 minutes, if it's taken you a day to do that, then are you losing some competitive advantage? Good broadband gives you capacity to the free service. It's free to have a conferencing account. You only pay when you use for the call tariff. And of course, if you're on the right call tariff, that also can be capped at 5p or 10p for an hour. Remote working. It's an interesting subject, remote working. I recruit quite a few graduates in one of my businesses. I don't know what they tell them when they're getting their degree, but I find it's almost an expectation of them that they have flexible working now. If you want to attract the best people, I think you need to offer that capability. Forget anything else. If you want to keep good people, I think you need to offer that capability. I'll give you a very quick example. Next time you ring directory inquiries, if you still do that, as opposed to looking up a number on Google, the next time you ring directory inquiries, you could well be answered in somebody's kitchen. Because for whatever reason, directory inquiries is predominantly a female-based environment. And it's a highly skilled job. You imagine trying to get the right information out of somebody when they're dialing 999. There's a drama going on, but you need to cut through the emotion and get right to the granularity so you can get the right support to the right location very, very quickly. It's a highly skilled job, but there are periods of time when these ladies want to go and start their family or whatever it may be. From an employer's point of view, like BT, we want to keep that expertise. We don't want the recruitment and retrain costs. We want to keep that expertise. From the individual's point of view, we want them to come back to work when they're ready to come back. And very often, if they could come back to work for 2 or 3 hours a little bit earlier, that helps them get back into their full-time employment, the job that they were doing. So by using a broadband connection, we can divert calls to them when they want to log on, maybe between 9 and 11, and then again between 2 and 3:30 in the afternoon. They can come back to work quicker. We keep the expertise, we don't have the retraining costs, the service continues to be enhanced that we provide. Remote working also gives you access to cloud computing. You will have all heard about cloud computing, the ability to host all the clever things that you need off your site and not have the boxes in your office and the maintenance liability that goes with that. Remote working is truly enabled by good broadband. To such a degree, I'll show you later on, where if you wanted to, you can take your phone when you leave your office at night at 5 o'clock. Let's say you had a project that you wanted to do tomorrow, you're going to work from home. Your extension 200, you unplug your phone, you go home, you plug it into your broadband, and extension 200 is now there. So the rest of the organisation that may call you, and you're always on extension 200, you can answer the call at home. If you were fortunate enough to have a villa in Spain, you could, if you were sad enough, put it in your hand luggage. Maybe the 5 kilo weight limit you might have to consider, but you could take it to Spain, plug it into the broadband, and now extension 200 is there. And if you really want to be in touch, you can twin that handset to your mobile. So if you're on the journey between those locations and they ring extension 200, you have the choice of answering on your phone, holding it and transferring it back into your organisation. That's called a unified comms platform. We'll show you about that shortly. But it's a real enabler for you and for me. It's a real enabler to keeping and retaining good people. Cloud computing. It wasn't so long ago in an office of 15 people when I had 15 empty boxes of Windows 7. I don't know what to do with them. I guess I've got to recycle them at some point. What I'd much prefer to do is have my applications hosted in the cloud and pay so much a month for a license, so that when the next version comes along, that's hosted in the cloud, I get the latest version, I haven't got the investment. And cloud computing will explode over the next 2 or 3 years as the traditional infrastructure that you have to work with starts to become hosted in the cloud. Why? Because you want to access it from wherever you are. And we'll do that just at the very end of the presentation.
BT Infinity for Business is our fastest ever broadband. Download speeds of up to 76 megabits means you can do more. Use more applications at the same time without slowing down. Make calls over the internet, helping you save money. Get smoother, faster streaming of media. And as you grow your business, more people can share the same connection without affecting the speed. BT Infinity for Business makes it easy to share data. You can send much larger files via email without having to divide them up. Even memory-hungry files that used to take hours, like HD videos, can now download in minutes. Fiber helps you get the most out of cloud computing. You can keep your applications in the cloud, and you don't need to invest in expensive servers and software. So you can use as much or as little of the cloud as you need, helping you control cost. With BT Infinity for Business's superfast speeds, you can access and use your apps in the cloud quicker than ever before. Traveling to meetings is expensive. BT Infinity for Business gives you seamless connections for video conferencing, making sharing ideas and information with others easier. BT Infinity for Business helps home workers get more done in less time. You can also save on office space and provide flexible ways of working to help attract the best people. Plus, with BT Infinity for Business, you get free unlimited Wi-Fi connecting you to the internet on the move. It's easy to switch. We'll give you free phone support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And our engineers will install Infinity for you and won't leave until your PC is up and running. Let BT Infinity for Business help you find new and smarter ways of working.
11 million people can get Infinity for Business. I do these presentations, I hear lots of people that will say to me, I can't get the speeds I want. 11 million people can. And by the end of next year, that will be 93% of the population. It won't all be delivered by BT, but that type of bandwidth will be available, and that will change the culture of how we work. The reason that will change is at the moment who's got a smartphone? Okay, there are 33 million people like you that have got a smartphone. That's about 50% of the population or so. By the end of 2015, there will be 65 million smartphones in the UK. That means you're all going to have at least two, or everybody's going to work in a different way because of the convenience. But I don't think we're ready for it. I think we're ready for it as users, but I don't necessarily think we're ready for it as businesses. Broadband helps you unify your comms. So, if I was just thinking about what I wanted, or if I'd got an existing infrastructure of a traditional telephone system and a traditional data solution, I need to think about bringing them together, either on my site or off my site. Because it helps collaboration. It helps people talk to each other. It helps customers get through to the person they want immediately. And it will also reduce your costs. I'll show you that. This is probably what many of you have got at the moment. Or if you haven't got to the size of wanting a telephone system, this may be what you're thinking about. Your telephone lines coming into a clever box, your broadband going into another box. Off the telephone box are your telephone handsets, off the broadband box are your computers. If you add that up, there's probably 12 contracts, 12 potential suppliers you could have to get that solution. Your telephone lines from somebody, your calls from somebody, you bought your telephone system from somebody that's given you a maintenance contract, someone's put your wiring in. Your broadband from somebody, you bought your broadband box from somebody, you bought your computers from somebody, and they've got a maintenance contract. The administrative burden alone of that is not great, and a big cost to business. It also means that your people aren't empowered. The front office that take the call can't deal immediately with the customer because they haven't got the information in front of them. And as I said, we're pretty impatient. We don't have a lot of patience. We want the answer when we call in. So my suggestion, with broadband enabled correctly, is you go for this type of solution. You'd have your broadband and phone lines together. You maybe even put your telephone lines down your broadband. Instead of £15 a month per line, it's going to cost you about £9 a month per line. There are ways to do that. It goes into one clever box. That clever box has the telephones hooked on it. Yes, it does. But the PCs link straight into the telephones. So now when somebody calls in and Fred answers the call, screen popping, he'll know who's calling before he even lifts the handset up. If it's when am I going to get my parcel delivered, the screen hopefully will tell him it's going to come at 11 o'clock on Thursday. Customer's really happy. The individual's really efficient. He's not writing it down on a post-it, having to speak to the delivery guy, getting the answer, and then chase the customer down to give him the answer at your cost. Costing you more money, not as efficient, not great service to retain the customers that you have, or to try and steal some from your competitors who are not using this type of application. You can hook your servers and your printers off the same network. You can have some wireless connectivity to it, and home workers and remote workers can link straight into it. So I can be in my car when someone calls extension 200. My phone can ring I can see the data, I can give them the answer. If I need to transfer them back into my company, I can do that too. It's called a unified comms platform. It is not as complicated as it sounds. Scott's guys are unbelievably smart at getting a cost-effective solution for this type of application. And as I said, if you want to speak to them, they're local. You don't have a BT call centre anyway, by the way, anymore. It's one of BT's best-kept secrets. Every county has a local office now for people like you to get free advice on how they might want to engage with this stuff. Scott's office today is at the back of the hall next to the VIP lounge in the networking suite, but he's in Derby and he's got a local office for you if you need to engage with him. So that type of platform does what for me? As a business owner, it certainly reduced my costs. I don't have all that administrative burden. It has to reduce my costs because if my people are more efficient, I don't need as many to deal with the same volume of work. Or the people I've got can deal with more work. I can squeeze more in. I don't need as much space in terms of accommodation because I can now work from anywhere. Let's say I've got a field guy and he comes into the office. If he just wants to grab any desk and key in a code, his functionality is all in front of him. You don't need a separate desk for every person, which means you may be able to expand your business without necessarily moving premises. The productivity I talked about. Home workers, we're pretty efficient. It's only old, I nearly said a rude word then, it's only old people like me at 57 that think when people work from home they end up doing the washing, doing the ironing, digging the garden, cleaning the car. They don't. They save an hour a day travelling to and from work, maybe, in my case, for some people. And if they invest half of that back in working for me, I gain time. I get quicker decisions because I'm not chasing them round wherever they may be. If you have to move office with that type of platform, you can take your phone number with you. We're quite precious about our phone numbers. When you move, in the past, if you've experienced it, you've probably had to change your number. Change all your marketing material, change your literature, change the number that people use to engage with you. You don't have to do that with this type of platform. And it's all controlled from your PC. You choose. So as things happen that are unexpected, snow, out of hours, you can control where your calls to and who takes them. Maybe you need to change it because Fred can't get in today to answer the calls, so they've got to go to Mary. A simple keystroke and the calls are now going to Mary. Your business carries on functioning. And I like being a customer. I'm sorry, but I like to speak to people. You know, I like it if I book my flight with a regular airline that I use, I like the fact they turn around and say to me, is it your normal window seat? I feel as if they want to do business with me. Rob this morning said he liked being liked. Well, I quite like being liked. And then a price proposition is not always as important for me. The ability for someone to care about the service they provide me and deal with it is really important to me. You can see who's available to take calls for your customers simply. We spend so much time calling people who are not available. You leave a message on their fixed phone, you leave a message on their mobile, you send them an email, that email goes to their device. Very often it takes me longer to delete all the messages than it would do to speak to the person in the first place. With this type of application, you can tell people that you're in a meeting till 11 o'clock. That you're on a project, you're not going to be disturbed till 2 o'clock, or that you are available for a call whenever they're ready. You stop the calls at source, more efficient for everybody. And as I said earlier, your customer data can be linked directly to the person who takes the call. So if you've got a small business and maybe you've got 3 salespeople, car parts or whatever it may be, as someone calls in, they know exactly who's calling in before they answer. So they get, hello, John, as opposed to, hello, Smith & Co., how can I help you? That's got to make you feel more comfortable. There's a YBT story around it, you'd expect. As I said, don't be phased now. BT is not a big faceless call centre answered somewhere in the world. It's now a local number just for you. But of course, the BT guys have a small army of people to deliver stuff for you. I've got a couple of number slides I just want to talk to you about. One is prepared and one I scribbled down in the car on the way here this morning. Waiting for information from colleagues wastes us 5 hours a week. Think about your own environment, trying to get hold of someone, trying to get the answer that you want. They're not available. They're in a meeting, they're on the phone, they're out of the office. Getting them to come back to you, I find it horrendously frustrating. Unified Comms solves that. Superfast, you're looking at a minimum 16 meg broadband connectivity. If you can't get superfast, the guys have other options available to you. It's not just BT that provides broadband service, but there are 3 or 4 alternatives from BT to get you into this game. One system. If you do nothing else but reduce the administrative burden of 10 or 12 contracts and no accountability between suppliers, consider having one unified platform. BT's broadband is the #1 broadband service in the UK for quality. You'd expect a BT presentation to have that in. But I want to give you a further food for thought as we leave this presentation for my last 5 minutes. The mobile world that you live in is about to change significantly. Remember I said the smartphones were going to go from 33 to 64 million. That's because something called 4G is coming along. Basically that's 15 or 16 meg of broadband service to the device that you choose to carry around with you. Why is that important? Well, I'll tell you some numbers that Google have researched and Google have told us about ourselves. 70% of us are never more than 3 meters from our mobile. Hands up. I only got these this morning, so I've just got to remind myself about them. 30% of us check our mobile before we get out of bed. Come on. Does that tell you something about the way you're going to have to operate? Now, 80% of us expect a website that we want to access to be as quick on our mobile as it is from our PC. Who gets frustrated when they call up a website and on their mobile it's... Do you know why that is? It's because 80% of the people who are available and advertise on Google don't have a website designed for a mobile device. So forget broadband. When you, as customers, are using your mobile device to make your decisions, if you get a website that won't load, guess what? More than half of you won't go to that website again. You'll find the next one on the list. So now put yourself as the supplier. Are you in the 20% that have got a mobile-friendly website, or are you in the 80% that is going to ignore 63 million smartphones trying to access your information? And one final piece that I thought was quite interesting from a marketing point of view. Companies spend 25% of their budget on marketing material. Now we've all got smartphones, only 7% of us read the printed material. We want to read it on the device that we carry around with us. So this is a wider discussion than broadband, but broadband is an enabler to this. And it is not complicated, especially with the support of Scott and his team in the local office. That's kind of all I've got to say about it. I hope it's helped you stimulate a few ideas. If you want to come and talk to me one-to-one, I'm at the very back in the quiet corner that's called the network room, but that's only because Rob is not in there, because if you haven't heard Rob, he loves to be quite noisy on his networking. So I'm available there, as Scott's people are, if you want to talk to me. Thank you very much for your time. Cheers.